Hi, all you fellow teacher fanatics out there. I am sharing with you today a Google slideshow that I worked on collaboratively with a small group during a guided reading session at school. So here's our figurative language slideshow, and I'm going to go back to the version history so you can see where we started. See version history. And I can see here all the different versions of the document. And I'm going to take it back to last night when I created this one. So this is a Google Slide presentation, and all I had to do was click on the plus arrow to make a new presentation. And I started out with these 3 slides. So I have this slide as the cover, the second slide, this is what we're going to be doing together. This will be their opportunity to do some independent practice before we get started. And then here is my example for them to model their slides off of. So after I made this Google slideshow, I'm going to go back to my screen now. What I did was I shared it. And right here, you can see that I've shared it with 6 people, and those are all the people that are in my group. So after I shared it with them, I had them go to their drive and go to shared with me. And they were able to see the slide presentation there and click on it. Once everybody opened it up, I told them all to click in the word figurative. And once they all got signed in, I could see that they were present right here. And I could see where their cursor was at to make sure they were following directions. And this was really important to me and a huge aha, because previously I feel like management with keeping a small group all at the same place while working on the Chromebooks has been a challenge. So we reviewed what figurative language was and went to the second slide. And here's that question. And this was the question we started with. And we reviewed what they had already learned about figurative language and that they had been searching for figurative language in their own books, and they came up with a definition for figurative language. So one student came up with this part. Figurative language is a saying, and so they got to type that part. After they finished typing, I had them put their cursor back on the word figurative. And another student came up with this part that can use as, than, or like. So they got to type this and then put their cursor back up here in the top part. So on and so forth. As each person came up with something to add, they would get to click and type it in there. And when it wasn't their turn, they would put their cursor on the word figurative. Once we finished that slide, we moved on to the 2 types of figurative language that we were going to be focusing on. One was similes and one was metaphors. So you can see here what I had already had ready for the kids, the first bullet on each side. And then I had each of them go into an article that we had read previously and analyze it, looking for 2 students got to look for similes and 3 students looked for metaphors. Once they found the simile or metaphor, they got to type it in right here on the slide. After they had finished typing that in on the slide, I showed them my example of what their job was. Their job was to create 2 Google slides, one for a simile, one for a metaphor. I can see here that I have misspelled metaphor, but that'll be a teachable moment on how to use the spell check and how to identify misspelled words when we meet again next time. I don't meet with this group every day, so I wanted them to have a task that they could complete independently. And then I use this right here, moving GIF, is what we would be doing next time when we met if they had their 2 slides done. So once again, their job was to create 2 slides, one for simile, one for metaphor, and then explain what they thought the simile or metaphor meant. I sent the kids off to work, and they all got started right away and were working. You could see I was able to comment later after school. Since I won't be meeting with them tomorrow, these comments are going to be really important if they're going in the right direction or they need some feedback. So each student was able to add their own slide, and they followed my example. And each student did their own research. So some of the kids chose to use the articles that we had worked on previously last week and earlier this week, and some kids chose to use the similes or metaphors they had found in their own books as reading. So next, when we meet, I'll show them how to add that moving GIF, which is using an image to enhance what the authors was trying to communicate. And then they will present this slideshow to the class, and they will explain how to identify. They'll explain how to identify a simile or metaphor. They'll explain what figurative language is, and they'll get to share each of their slides. And then the rest of the class will also get to do the project. This was a fun opportunity, and the kids really enjoyed it, and it is a great way to make a class book using technology. Hope you enjoyed.